Accountability is God's job, but it's not solely God's job. No, it's our job too. We will be the plan. We are never going to give up. When the truth is known to the entire world, we are going to have extreme accountability.
And welcome to the Stu Peters Show. I'm Paul Harrell filling in for Stu. So COVID, Ukraine, and other big issues have made it obvious that our government lies to us a lot. They lie about what's happening in our country, they lie about what their plans are, and they even lie about what our own government is capable of. So that raises the question, just what hidden technologies could the government be using to quietly control, terrorize, and kill us? James Giordano is a professor of neuroethics at Georgetown and also an advisor to the U.S. military. Back in 2018, he delivered a disturbing lecture at West Point about the human brain being the battlefield of the future. We've clipped the most interesting parts. Have a watch.
We could stop it there and I could let you go back to your respective units and think about that for a while, but I'm here to tell you absolutely, as much as there's a big old Tyrolean nose on this face, that you will encounter some form of neurocognitive science that has been weaponized not only in your military career, but in your personal and professional lives, irrespective of whether those two things coincide or not. So the idea of the brain as the battlescape is very important. And more importantly is this other acronym that's up there, which is WMD squared. Please get used to this because this is going to be part of the idea of irregular warfare and ongoing military innovation in your careers. Weapons of mass destruction and disruption. Disruption and influence will be the key to creating peer capabilities and asymmetrical engagements. Let me say it again. It will be the key to creating peer capability and asymmetrical relations and engagements. And under the veil of a white flag, he and I are now to have some kind of a caucus, a meeting. And during that meeting, what I do is I lace the rim of his drink or his pen or his seat or something in his immediate environment with very, very low-dose drug or toxins that are going to affect his stability. They may affect the way his brain works, and as a consequence of that, they can affect the functions of his brain, his thought patterns, his relative emotionality, and the behaviors that go along with that. One of two things might happen. He might be completely incapacitated as a consequence of this, or he may change his level of capacity and engagement so that he went into the meeting thinking, I hate this guy's my enemy. He walks out of the meeting going, I love this guy's great. Now what could happen if in fact this is a gentleman who has charismatic, financial, elected, or dictatorial power? If you're not aware of what nanoparticulate matter is, it's that matter which exists on a scale of 1 times 10 to the minus 9th. Very, very small. Smaller than a cell. And we can manufacture materials that have discrete properties that can be controlled by virtue of bioengineering and their physical chemistry. To auto-aggregate, to be able to aggregate in particular areas based upon their biological and or chemical sensitivity. But now we go one step further. Most recently, just a few weeks ago, it was announced that you could then aerosolize nanomaterials. And go one step further, I can create small robotic units, controllable robotic units at the nanoscale, and that these too can be aerosolized to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, can be then uptaken into the vascular system to create clumping, can affect the vascular system of the brain, or can directly diffuse into the brain space, and these can be weaponized. And they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such, the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. How much of this material would I need? Take a look. This is the front of my pen. This amount of nanomaterial, if be able to maintain and sustain with regard to its deliverability and aerosolization, could in fact affect all of you.
Okay, so that was 5 years ago, before even COVID. So how far do you think things have moved in the past 5 years? What kind of invisible weapons could the government be deploying on the battlefield of the brain? Well, here's one hint. The next year, in 2019, Professor Giordano was co-author of a scientific paper on aerosolized nanobots. Robots so small They can spread through the air like water droplets, as you just saw him explain. What does it feel like to be hit with a neuro weapon? Well, Karen Kingston knows what it's like to be targeted by a neuro weapon, and she says she knows how to treat it as well, and she joins us now. Karen, welcome back to the Stu Peters Show. It's good to see you.
Oh, thank you for having me back, Paul. Yeah, it's been a while, and as James Giordano said, they use the neuro weapons potentially to take out leaders. So back in July, with the help of the Stu Peters platform, a lot of the messaging and evidence I was putting forward was gaining momentum, and I was effectively hit with some of these neuro weapons. And what it feels like is, well, first of all, they can put it, like he said, like on your food. Believe it or not, once I really believe they actually put it in mustard, like on a sandwich. They can put it in a drink, or you can be hit with a puff of this aerosolized technology. And immediately what I felt was congestion in kind of like a nasal congestion up into the head and in the eyes, and a tingling over your body. And then you get kind of dizzy and lightheaded, and your cognitive function, you're not able to really articulate thoughts or ideas very well. And another thing that I noticed was almost an emotional numbness, except an extreme heightened sense of anxiety and terror, if you will. So we know that COVID-19 causes a loss of smell, and that's what happened as well. So if it goes through the olfactory nerves, that goes straight to the amygdala. Between this burning sensation that you have and whatever this neurotoxin is, I really felt like I was in a state of terror. And it was very difficult for me to articulate my thoughts as I normally would. And I'm still having problems to this day. But what was most alarming was the tightening in my chest and this extreme thirst. If anyone's been through surgery and anesthesia, it's kind of like that, but 10 times worse, to the point that I was on my knees begging out to Jesus and God that if this is a inkling into what hell is like, to please save me and rescue me now. So it was very terrifying when I was hit with these neuro weapons, and it happened more than once. What I found treated it. Oh, and I also had inflammation of the body. So the first thing I noticed was my hands, my fingers swelled up, but then I started to notice swelling throughout the whole body. So I took large doses of antihistamines. So an antihistamine is like, Claritin, Zyrtec, Benadryl, Allegra, those kind of things. And then any kind of anti-inflammatory. I personally took diclofenac, but you could take a prednisone, you could take Tylenol, Advil, those kind of things. And then, based on my understanding that these neuroweapons contain the nanotechnology, I do use a zeolite spray that I sprayed in my mouth, and believe it or not, I sprayed it in my eyes, and I just kept spraying it because it's supposed to help bind to the technology. So that was my most recent experiences. And when you're targeted, keep in mind that, they just need, as James Giordano said, you're talking about an amount that's invisible to the human eye. So, if you go to your local grocery store and you get some, ribs to go or fried chicken, they can just spray the inside of the bag, drop, the food in there, and then that food is contaminated. If you're staying in a hotel, they can, just in the little cracks in the door, they could spray something into your room. And we also know that they could use electromagnetic frequencies, and the weapons that they developed, many of them look like a smartphone, and, these smartphones can be weaponized with 5G. So you could have that targeted at you and be hit with a 5G EMF. And Dr. Anna Mohalchia actually recently reported that Senator Ron Johnson and other senators reported that they were hit with EMFs and they suffer from Havana syndrome. So what I explained, though, again, is when I was hit with the neuroweapons, there was mass inflammation throughout the body, including the central nervous system. I assume there were some toxins in there that caused some of the cognitive dysfunction and the heightened state of anxiety. And so what I just treated was the inflammation. Now, if someone is hit with these, I recommend obviously seeing a doctor that's an expert in it for treatment.
This is just incredible. I mean, because you are right. I mean, everybody watching the Stu Peters show and your, essentially repeat appearances here on this program, you and Stu going over patents, the bioweapon, exposing, a ton of stuff, exposing the criminality of Pfizer, the court documents that they wanted hidden for 50 years. All of this information is coming out, it's gaining steam, and then boom, all of a sudden, you're kind of off the grid for a long time. And I know a lot of Stu Peters listeners, viewers were very concerned, like, where's Karen Kingston? Is Karen Kingston okay? And so now, here's the explanation. You believe you were essentially, it was an attempt on your life, really.
Yeah, and I was told when I returned to the States that if I kept a low profile and backed off, that this would stop. And Paul, the devil doesn't honor his word. So I still need prayers and protection. I really do, more than ever.
And is this the first time that you think that you have been, given something that, made you sick because of the information that you were, covering and revealing?
That's a great question. Thank you for bringing it up. Actually, this has been going on for more than 2 years. And in October 2021 and November 2021, I was hit at speaking events. And I'll send the evidence to your production studio so they can show them. At the speaking events, I was told I was hit with a tick. So a tick is like an invisible Band-Aid, and someone was probably prayed with me and pressed it into my skin. And I was hit with the full-on COVID-19 bioweapon nanotechnology. And hopefully, you can show the viewers, my skin turned green and then it turned black and fell off. And I hope we can get the images to show them.
They're there. Yeah.
I looked at the blood work. My blood work, you could see the self-assembling nanotechnology in my blood. And I became very, very ill. And the only way to treat it successfully was with EDTA. That was the only treatment that was really effective. What happened after I did the EDTA is these, when my skin turned black, it had like these black bubbles. It's really gross. It almost was reptilian looking, but it collapsed and that fell off and my skin cleared up. And as you know, Dr. Anna Mahalchia, she's had successful treatments with EDTA. I don't know of other people who've had their skin turn green then black. And then obviously my blood was contaminated. I was sleeping 20 hours a day. At one point, I had massive bleeding from my nose and everywhere. And my bed looked like someone had been murdered in it. My poor son had to witness, basically his mother completely incapacitated and bleeding. So that happened over 2 years ago. So I want people to know that, I've done not just the best I can do. I've been doing all I can endure, really, to get the truth out there. And this last attack, I'm still traumatized by it, as you can see. But, it's not normal for me to panic, which is part of the reason why I think that there are long-lasting neurological effects that take time to heal when you're hit with these neuroweapons as well. Because when I was hit with these other biological weapons, there was brain fog and everything else, but cognitively I was still strong. And this last round really hit me. It really hit me hard. And again, the devil doesn't honor his word. They're not backing off.
Okay, so you said that, you've been doing all this to get the truth out. So let's go ahead and double down here. And, if you had to summarize the truth that you're trying to get out, what is it, Karen Kingston?
Well, whether it's the COVID-19 or the injections, we're under attack by an advanced artificial intelligence technology that, as James Giordano said, can be aerosolized, it can be put in your food or beverages, and it can be injected. And it's invisible to the human eye. So attribution or or trying to identify what's causing these illnesses in America and these deaths and disease can be difficult. Now, we know the injections, there's direct correlation now. But, I think the next wave of attacks, again, whether they call it a virus or I don't know what they're going to call it, mass psychosis, more than likely it is an advanced now technology attack on global civilians. So we have to stand strong in the truth and not, and I think that's what's most important, is to not capitulate to the lies. And to remember that we are a country founded under God. Our rights are given to us by God, not the government. And I think I had a strong position reminding people that they have the authority to take control in their own communities and protect themselves and their children, and to work with local officials to do so. And
that was successfully done. I mean, you were being successful at that in Florida counties, right? And then you were also educating local authorities, really in other places too, right, across the country.
Yes, I was. And I think that when people reminded that, again, our rights are given us to God, given us to by God, and we are created perfectly in His image, and no one has authority over our bodies, our minds, and our souls other than God. And I think that upset the enemy greatly. So, if you can't tell, Paul, I'm still timid right now. It's and I really just the prayers of the viewers. I'm here because of their prayers and because of my faith in Jesus Christ and because of our Almighty God, Yahweh. I'm confident of that. People say the three-letter agencies wanted me gone. I would be gone. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I'm here, because of my faith and because of prayers and the power of prayer and the power of Yahweh.
Wow. Well, amen to that. And I know the Stu Peters audience is going to continue to pray for you and, pray for recovery. And really just generally, I mean, here you have done all of this work and it's all out there. It's all available for other people to pick up the torch and carry it, even further to expose it, to get accountability. I know Stu uses the term extreme accountability. I would certainly concur with that. I mean, because this is, we are literally in the midst of, the powers that be, whether they're, public or whether they're hidden, they clearly are at war with humanity. They're obsessed with depopulation. It's obvious that we're not, not only being poisoned by this cloak and dagger spy type stuff, but also our food supply, our water. And I know all of that can integrate into those things as well. But yeah, it's very dangerous times, and we have to remain vigilant. And Karen Kingston, thank you for remaining vigilant, and thank you once again for coming on the Stu Peters Show.
Yeah, thank you. And just lastly, I want to say I was unaware of the breadth and the depth of the reach of this plan. Just like as Christians and people of Judeo-Christian values, we're very open about our faith. I think it's called the skull and crossbones. There is a dark cult out there that's secretive, and you don't know the reach of it. And in the book of Mark 13, I think it's verse 14, it says, brother will turn against brother to death, parent against their child, and child will put their parent to death. People will be threatened to hurt other people. Stu did a great interview with Laura Logan where she said the neighbors were turning the Jews over into the Nazis.
You can't have a genocide. She said you can't have a genocide without the neighbors pointing where the people are hiding.
Keep in mind, though, when people are terrorized in fear, remember the Von Trapps from
The Sound of Music. The Sound of
Music, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, when a son became part of the Nazis and turned on his own family. So, it is in the book of Mark. We are in dark times, and we need to repent, and we need to reach out to one another and love and remember that connection. What kept me going was reminding myself I was made in the image of God. I have a connection to God. And we all do. And we need to remind our loved ones and our neighbors of that connection as well to stay strong in this attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jesus Christ is on his throne right now, and we need to remember that. And nothing, the gates of hell are not going to stop his kingdom, the advance of his kingdom, even though the enemy plots and plans and, maybe wins apparently little battles here and there. God wins in the end. Karen Kingston, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, folks, the Stu Peters Show is going to go to break. Going to be back here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
If you're looking for the newest cutting-edge products to push your brain and body to the outer limits of what's possible, then you should stop what you're doing and check out Nootopia, the most powerful bespoke nootropics on the market today. You see, every stack was formulated by a man who's the most advanced brain chemist and nootropics formula alive today. Every formula is customized for you based on your strengths, your weaknesses, your goals, so you get exactly what you need. Within 15 to 30 minutes, you should begin to feel and notice the mental effects. These formulas come with a full 1-year guarantee, so there's zero risk for you trying them for yourself. If you feel like you're not fully maximizing your potential, both personally and professionally, then you owe it to yourself to try Nootopia's formulas. Simply go to Nootopia.com/StuPeters, again, Nootopia.com/StuPeters, and use Stu Peters to receive 10% off any order. Again, that's Nootopia.com/StuPeters. If you're over 35 and like the typical American, you start to feel tired around noon. Your ability to focus just keeps getting worse as you get older. For energy, you've probably tried coffee or tea, or even worse, one of those sugary, poisonous drinks that promises energy for hours, but they just don't work. Your focus never improves. ESS-60 is a molecule that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know about. And that's because Big Pharma's evil and they want to kill you. And also they know how effective this is. And they can't make any money off of continuously slowly poisoning you to death. Historically, this is dramatically extending the lives of test subjects, and it's why I'm hooked. My Vital C is made with just 2 ingredients, olive oil and a powerful nano antioxidant, 125 times more powerful than vitamin C. That's ESS-60. It's also backed by a full 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to myvitalc.com/Stu. Again, that's myvital.c.com/Stu. Also, use the coupon code StuPeters at checkout for an additional 15% off your initial order. That's myvitalc.com/Stu. Filtersuck.com is the leading manufacturer in filterless air purification systems, whether you're dealing with pollen or mold or dust, shedding from your pet, or vaccinated neighbors' mRNA spike protein shedding. Filtersuck.com has solutions for every scenario, at home, at work, or on the go. Breathe with confidence. Don't let your air suck. Rest well knowing that your home is protected 24/7. So now you can get a unit for your home or a portable unit for on-the-go travel. That's Filtersuck.com. Use promo code STU for 10% off when you go to Filtersuck.com.